Alright, this video I'm going to speak about Ronnie Coleman. He's a very famous bodybuilder of our time, and I just found out about the guy, just a couple days ago. I mean, I've seen the guy in the Muscle magazine cover before. I think I heard the name before, but I never really looked into the guy because I'm not into the bodybuilding thing. But at the same time, I highly discourage, this competition fighting and especially this MMA thing, and it's basically I highly discourage it. And what it's basically making me do is just kind of look into other areas of development that doesn't really have to do much with actual fighting, because I think it's just too violent. And I just looked into the bodybuilding. It's not that that's what I want to do, but it's just something where I'm trying to look into other areas of development to kind of promote people into something more peaceful. Even though I don't agree with the bodybuilding, I see that it's healthier, much healthier. I see that it's healthier and better than the fighting. And I was just looking into some of his videos, and it's just ridiculous. I mean, this guy, if you've never seen this guy before, he's like a real life monster. His strength is just incredible. I mean, it's not like, of course he's on steroids, and let's just assume every single professional bodybuilder is on steroids. Let's just assume that everybody in WrestleMania is on steroids. Let's just assume that every cage fighter is on steroids. Let's just basically assume that every professional athlete is on steroids. Alright, so even being on steroids, we'll give him that. I mean, he is, but I've never seen anybody so big and strong before. Even though he's on steroids, what he's doing is just, it's just hard to believe. Because typically, I would think that the bodybuilders are not that strong because it's just all for show. But this guy is not just all for show. I mean, his strength is just, ridiculous. He's like squatting like 800 pounds. He's on the free weights. He's like doing dumbbell bench presses with 200 pounds on each arm. He's just ridiculously strong. And just showing through time how crazy and how just insane the human body develops with the use of these steroids through time. It's just like a monster, a beast, like a real life beast. Back in Arnold's day, I think the steroids just came into the market, and he admitted taking it. And I respect him for that. But what I don't respect the Ronnie dude for is he doesn't admit that he takes it. But, probably because he may lose his Olympian titles and stuff like that, because I guess you just can't admit it. But he's obviously taking steroids like crazy, because what he does and how big he is just ridiculous. One thing that's respectable is that even though he's lying about it, but at least he's not hurting other people, not destroying people, putting other people in the hospital. And bodybuilding is more peaceful than fighting. And he will destroy mostly anybody in regards to lifting weights and to bodybuilding. I mean, the level of development this guy has achieved is just crazy. Even though he's on steroids, it's just crazy, you know. And at least he's not hurting other people, and it's just demonstrating his raw strength with weights, showing off his physique. And one nice thing is, I saw some videos where he said, you know, it says that he's been a police officer for over 12 years, and he's a full-time police officer, which is nice as well. He's trying to contribute something positive to the society by being a police officer. Nice thing is, it seems like we have the same taste in music, because he's always listening to Tupac. Another thing is, there's a video where I saw him where he had a Bruce Lee poster up while he's lifting weights, which was pretty cool. So I don't know, maybe it seemed like there's some things that I have in common with this guy. Since he likes Tupac, he likes Bruce Lee, he's a police officer, I used to be one myself. He works hard. I mean, he just works insanely hard. It's not just the steroids that's doing, you know, it's genetics, steroids, and the fact that he works his ass off that made him achieve what he has achieved and be as big and strong as he is. So, I mean, there's obvious problems with bodybuilding and the use of steroids and just basically the unhealthiness of that competitiveness and that drive to basically take yourself to extreme levels of development that are not really healthy or safe and could lead to early death. But fact of the matter is, I would promote it ahead of the fighting, the competition fighting. He doesn't have to beat up other people in order to demonstrate his skill and talent and his hard work. So I respect that. But I do recommend for people to give him a look, type in Ronnie Coleman, because it'll just show you how ridiculously, like, how crazy people, what level they're able to achieve with hard work, steroids, and genetics. What at today, you know, in our time, how the human body has progressed to this. It's never going to be natural again as far as like this professional stuff is concerned. Because in order to compete with these guys, to even come close, you need to take steroids like them. There's no way you're going to ever even come close to matching up to these people that take steroids when you don't take it yourself. It's impossible. So the people have to be on steroids with these guys in order to even get close to achieving what they have achieved. But regardless of how many steroids you take, I mean, getting to the level that they've gotten to, or what he's gotten to, it's hard to imagine anybody surpassing him. But there is a possibility. I mean, there's always a possibility, and through time, somebody might beat him. You know, just more effective steroids, better genetics, whatever the case may be. Because back in the day, it was Arnold Schwarzenegger that won 7 in a row, and now this guy won 8. You know, or not 7 in a row, but he won 7 Olympians. Now this guy won 8, and you wouldn't think anybody beat Arnold, but now this guy already beat him, and these two individuals are during our time. Imagine like 100 years from now or 200 years from now, there's gonna be bound to be some people that beat, and we keep going more. The bodies are gonna get bigger, the bodies are gonna get stronger, the steroid is gonna be more effective, and people are gonna be turning into beasts, like real life beasts, you know. And it's just crazy, you know. And this is just, there's no turning back. Now that there's steroids, there's no turning back. Just like the guns, there's no turning back. You can't take the guns away from the people and eliminate it completely. There's no way you can take the steroids away and eliminate it completely. The steroids are here, and they're here to stay. And this is an example of, you know, the outcome of these steroids and what it creates, and how the competition in general, it's never gonna be like how it used to be in the past, where it's like a fair competition where there's no steroids involved, it's just pure hard work. Now it's not just pure hard work, it's steroids, hard work, and genetics. Genetics is always going to be genetics, so it's never going to be just pure hard work anymore in the competitive level. It's just going to be hard work and steroids. And if you don't take the steroids, there's no way you're going to be able to even come close to competing with these guys. It's impossible. You know, it literally is impossible. It's like trying to run a marathon against somebody on a motorcycle. You're never going to beat the guy on a motorcycle. It's impossible. Or try to run a marathon against a guy who's riding his bicycle. You know, he's a top level athlete riding one of the best bicycles in the world. You're never going to beat him because he has that advantage. So the steroids, if you don't take the steroids, there's no way you're going to be able to outbeat these people that are on the steroids. I mean, just look at this guy. I mean, he is freaking a monster, a real life monster. And I don't promote the use of steroids. I don't promote competition. I don't promote bodybuilding. I don't promote cage fighting. I don't promote violence. But the fact of the matter is, people in this society, they cannot get away from competition. It's just in their blood, and the majority of the people will always be competing. And basically what I'm saying is that I'd rather promote Ronnie Coleman for people to look up to and try to reach his level than the competition fighter, the boxer, the cage fighter. I mean, you think these competition fighters are strong? They will get demolished by this dude. Like as far as like strength is concerned and power and lifting weights, this guy would completely demolish them. His level of development is just it's crazy. And you know, he's promoting something, even though it's not healthy, but it's healthier than competition fighting. He's not hurting anybody, he's just lifting weights. And he's massive. And the nice thing about it is that he's a police officer with a regular job, working full-time, you know, trying to help the community. I really respect that. I respect that he's a police officer. I respect that he works really hard because he loves to do it. And I respect that what he does, he's not hurting other people by putting other people in the hospital, like fighting people. I respect that, you know, and I rather promote people to look up to him than to look up to any of the fighters. He is just ridiculously massive. What I don't respect is just his dishonesty about the steroids, but I understand, you know, why he's denying it, because he's not allowed to take it. It's against the law, and he's a police officer, and basically he could lose his job. It's probably against the bodybuilding rules, so then he would lose all his titles. So it's clearly not in his favor to admit that he takes it. Look at what happened to Lance Armstrong. You know, they took away his titles, and he loses all the respect that he had, and everybody looks down on him now. So basically, obviously, it's not in his favor to admit that he takes steroids, but I do respect how he works really hard, and he's demonstrating his talent and skill without hurting other people. and that he's trying to do something positive by being a police officer, and that's pretty much what I would rather guide people towards. And you see how hard this guy works and the level of development he has achieved. Yes, he's on steroids, but it's just crazy. I mean, you tell all these other people to take steroids as well. Just have everybody else take steroids. Nobody's gotten to his level as far as I've seen, as far as like strength and the level of development that he's been able to achieve with those steroids. You know, Arnold is, you know, got to a high level with the steroids, but this guy seems to like way surpass Arnold, you know. And with the technology nowadays and taking the steroids to a higher and higher level, is just turning humans into more and more like crazy beasts, you know. And I don't, you know, I'm not gonna follow in the footsteps of these people, but it's just, I just was curious, and I watched the videos, and it's just my initial feedback. You know, people are so into this competitiveness, and I say, hey, you know, if you're gonna compete, then compete in bodybuilding. Forget about boxing, forget about the cage fighting, but just go into bodybuilding. I respect the bodybuilding more than I do the cage fighting, more than I do the boxing. You know, compete in a healthier, you know, way, even though it's not healthy, but it's healthier than the bodybuilding. I'd rather promote people to go into bodybuilding. I'd rather promote people to go into basketball. Just something better for you and your development towards a positive growth. But you see, it's just crazy, you know. Competition sports in general, professional sports, the Olympics, I don't agree with any of it. I mean, it leads towards this kind of like, this type of development is just kind of sick. You're like, these people are like, I mean, they're just not even human. They're just like, I don't even know what you call them. I mean, they're like laboratory test animals on substances, doing just some crazy stuff. I mean, it's not really them doing it, it's the drug, it's the science that's doing it. And then you get amazed by the science. It's not necessarily human, because it's not the human, it's the science. It's just like being amazed by an airplane and wondering how they're able to get people to fly. It's the science that's doing it, you know. And I guess it's the mind, the human mind, that has created this science, or this substance, or this drug to allow the human to be able to do these types of things. It's science that we're basically in awe about. Like the science of the gun, the science of the airplane, the science of, you know, the cell phone, the science of the internet, the science of these camcorders, the science of these digital cameras, the science of steroids and these drugs and what it can make your body be capable of doing. That's kind of what we're in awe about, and this is a living example of what the science of steroids has been able to do, to be able to turn a human body into what you see right in front of your eyes, that person doing all these crazy ass stuff. Pretty much in modern times, in professional sports, there's no way you can compete without the steroids. You're gonna get demolished. You're gonna get crushed. That's just a fact. That's just a clear fact. I mean, these people have easy access to this stuff. I've seen some documentaries recently where they say that you can just order it from the internet. So if you can order steroids from the internet, how you can even stop that? You can't. I mean, there's a black market for the steroids that's not going to stop. And you see how so many people are taking it. Lance Armstrong taking it, Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone. I mean, and then a bunch of the people that don't admit it. All the wrestlers, WWE wrestlers, the people in the Olympics. I think Carl Lewis got caught taking it. Just pretty much the entire competitive sporting industry is taking these steroids to give themselves an advantage, and it's not going to stop. This is the modern day way of competing in athletics. It's not going to change. It's just going to keep getting worse, or it's just going to keep going, and you're going to see people that are get more and more massive, turning more and more into just some crazy animals. You know, and I don't admire this stuff. I don't look up to these people, but I'm bringing this to the table to let the people know that, hey, you know, I know that you love to compete and that's not going to stop. But at least let's try to compete in these healthier ways and not fight to compete. But I'd rather encourage people to look up to Ronnie Coleman than any of these fighters, and that's the only reason I'm bringing this up. But just look at this guy and the level that he's been able to achieve is just ridiculous. And you jack up anybody in steroids and make them become a fighter, and then you inject a bunch of painkillers in them, they're just going to be a violent beast on the loose in that cage or in that ring, just a very destructive force. And that's pretty much what's going on. What I'm basically saying is we don't need to turn these massive, muscular, and like huge human beings into violent animals. Let's not have them be violent towards humans. Let's just have them be violent towards like lifting weights or bodybuilding. That's pretty much what I'm trying to encourage people to do. I mean, see how massive this guy has gotten, how strong this guy has gotten. At least he's not hurting people. You know, at least he's not hurting people. So I say that if people want to look up to somebody that's just extremely crazy athletic, then go ahead and just look up to him. Don't look up to the fighters. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say. Look up to Ronnie Coleman. Look up to people that are really, really strong and extremely athletic. Look up to LeBron James. Look up to Michael Jordan. Look up to Kobe Bryant. Look up to whatever the guy Rose from the Chicago Bulls. Look up to these guys. You know. Look up to Lance Armstrong. Look up to Tiger Woods. That's kind of what I'm trying to promote people to do. Don't look up to the fighters. Look up to people that work hard, but at the same time try to focus their energies into having a little bit more of a peaceful expression.